Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is Maintaining Frame number 147. It's Bash a Pick Me Month. Dadvocate and Emily King are on blast, where we're going to be looking at a couple of videos. I have endured the bullshit and found about 3 clips from each video.
Golden
which
nuggets.
Means that this is probably going to be like 2 hours and require a 2-parter. So,
we'll try to avoid that.
Yeah. So, do you want to do the things before we get into it?
All right, sure. So if you would like to send us a message at any point throughout the show, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We get the full benefit of whatever funds you send, and you get the full benefit of sending your comment not through YouTube's comment wood chipper, as it were. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip for that. And if you would like to support the show, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/support. Very much appreciated if you want to do that, because you are the reason why we are able to do this work. And I mean, I've been doing some background work in the algorithm. And I think part of the issue is that there isn't a huge ecosystem for men's issues. Like, so we don't get actually recommended to other content because the algorithm is like, what are you? And we're like, well, we advocate for men's issues, and the algorithm's like, but nobody does that. Nobody but you. So where do I recommend you? So because you guys support us, we can continue to beat our heads against that brick wall, but in a good way, in a way that hopefully one day the brick wall will break. And these issues won't become something that people just shove into a corner. All right, so why don't we begin?
Yeah. So we're going to be looking at we have a couple of videos, but this first one is from a channel called The Queer Kiwi, featuring a girl, Kiwi girl, New Zealander, whatever, who, well, I think you can we don't like to judge a book by its cover, but I think it's patently obvious what's going on here. And she is responding to Emily King, or Emily W. King, who is like the Dadvocate, kind of like a female men's issues advocate that's blown up in the past few years. But the Queer Kiwi is at about 500,000 subscribers. So I want you to take into account how big this channel is. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and listen to this first bit where she's going to listen to Emily King, and was a series called Secrets About Women, where she explains women. And Dadvocate has a series called Womansplaining to Women, which is not quite the same, but it's like helping women understand men. But anyway, let's give this a listen.
And we're all keeping under lock and key to manipulate men, shall we?
A woman will never admit when she's fresh out of a relationship, whether she broke up with him or he broke up with her. She is going to check in with the guys that have been lying in wait. She's going to let them know that she's single, but here's the kicker. The only thing that she's going to take from those guys is a bunch of their time and attention, because she just wants her ego stroked. She's not going to have any relations with any of them, because she knew those men when she picked out her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was most likely her number one out of the guys that wanted her. Only exception is the one guy that she was interested in that was.
Is she that wrong though?
No, I don't think so. Well, at least I don't think that this is useless information.
No,
but
no, it's not.
No.
I mean, it is useful information, because you are looking at, and what's funny is this information just used to be like, yeah, it's common knowledge that a woman would be courting or would be courted by multiple suitors and would be picking her preferred from the lot. 100 years ago, everybody was like, yeah, that's just the case. And now it's misogyny. Why is it misogyny to accept the fact that women are generally the choosers? I don't know what's going on in the dating market exactly right now. It seems like it's a bloodbath on both sides, but generally women are the ones who are choosing from a group of men, and men are the ones who are, and presumably they might be courting more than one woman. But why has this become misogyny to point that out?
Oh,
why
well,
has it become...
let's let her see if the Kiwi has anything to say. But we got to
Yeah.
finish this clip because she's gonna like she wants to play the whole thing and then respond to it. So
Unlike us.
Completely out of her league, but then she realized that he was completely out of her league, and well, he's obsolete now because he's probably married. But she views these other men as lying in wait if they're still single. And she might get one or two or maybe even three of them thinking that they have a real chance with her, but they don't. They don't. She's going to stop talking to them when she finds her new number one or goes back to an ex. This is why, men, you never want the woman that circles back because she's only going to be a drain on your time and energy. Trust me.
all right, I'm just pausing for the banana before we get her response. All right, let's go. Let's see what she has to say.
The generalization and like just the absurdity of this, right? This is so just playing into the narrative that men have completely made up. Like this is
Okay. The generalizations. We're going to play the generalizations game. Men have oppressed women throughout all of human history. Like, you're not just generalizing about the men you're trying to date. You're generalizing about men in now. You're generalizing about men 25 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. You're generalizing men since men existed. And you are going to say this is a problem? And it isn't even that big of a negative generalization. I mean, it's unfortunate, but you know, it's sort of the way it plays out in this kind of free-for-all dating market where women are the sellers and it's a seller's market, right? Just acknowledging this is not misogyny. Just recognizing the generalization. Do you generalize things like, oh, men don't like women who are as plump as I am? Do you and you say something like, well, that is lookism. That's a generalization. Everybody thinks in generalizations, and that what this has become is this kind of battle between my generalizations are right and your generalizations are wrong, and you are on the side that has never had to back up your generalizations. You're not just generalizing about your experience in the dating landscape, and I guarantee she does. She generalizes about men. In fact, I'm guessing that this is 48 minutes of generalizing about men. Okay? Spoilers for anybody who has never clued in on this content. But it's become this battle of whose generalizations are right, except your generalizations are accepted by institutions, by academia, by government, by NGOs, without any kind of scientific rigor to those generalizations. She's not saying that women are oppressing men because they choose multiple men and keep, you know, she's just acknowledging a reality, a patent reality in a dating landscape where women are sellers and it's a seller's market. Like, I mean, whose generalizations are more toxic, maybe is what we should get down to right here.
Yeah, which ones are, I mean, generalizations are not wrong in and of themselves. I think that, like, how can we make judgments on things if we don't have some generalizations? But they should be rooted in some truth. There should be a kernel of truth to generalizations. And, well, anyway, let's play some more. This is she's not great, but we somebody wanted us to watch it, so here we are.
Is such a strong like red pill narrative. It is such a massive thing that all these like Fresh and Fit podcast Andrew Tate type men love to push, to be like, women are all sluts. They'll all use you. They're all gonna take advantage of you. They're just gonna.
I thought we were supposed to celebrate women being sluts. I thought that was a good thing.
Yeah. Okay,
I
so
thought we lived in a positive, like, sex positive time. I guess it's only ever wrong if men have any opinion on it at all. Like even kind of, that's it. It's just men having an opinion on something. It doesn't matter what the opinion is. If they say, well, I like it when a woman is like, you know, slutty, they'll be like, you're not allowed to do that.
You're not allowed to like,
even in the positive, even as an affirmation.
Remember when Men's Rights Edmonton was a thing and Nick would go out in his sandwich board saying, I love sluts to the slut walk. And he would get so many angry people saying, no, you can't do that. I thought this was a walk celebrating sluts, though.
Jeremy, us review says, women are flawed beings is not a red pill talking point. I'm sorry, but
No.
it is now. It is.
Yeah,
Actually, now it is. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it is. Like they've made it that this is where the Overton window has shrunk. It's gone from a window for women in feminism. It's gone from a window to one of those little tiny, like, you know, those little circles that little bit of light in on your front door, you know, like that you maybe you like that you can like put a it's like a mail slot. That's basically what it is. So yeah, it is a red pill talking point now. Sorry to break it to you. Just having an opinion on that is a red pill talking point now. So, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. Hey, if it just so happens that the only people that know how to like address reality as it is and has like normal, you know, ways of perceiving, if that makes us red pill, then fuck yeah, I'm basically like maroon pilled. I'm basically like the deepest red, like, you know, like barnhouse red. That's what I'm at. Yeah. Deep ultra what is it, infrared. I'm infrared pilled because I like, you know, I observe reality.
Ultra red.
Yeah. So anyway, fucking metallic red.
Yeah, it's like you said, men cannot have an opinion. They will push for something. They will say that all women should be sluts, sluts should be accepted, there should be no slut shaming. But if men have an opinion, even like, well, the world is now sluts, sluts there, sluts here. This is how you appeal to sluts. This is how you live with sluts. This is how you manage sluts. This is how you try to make your life reasonable when it's covered in sluts. This is this is the slut bait. This is the slut deterrent device. This is how you get sluts off your cabbages. This is how you gather them up and turn them into a marketable commodity. This is how you get sluts out of your heating ducts, you know. This is how you eat sluts on with pine nuts and spinach, you know. That's just like, if men have any kind of formula for dealing with the world as women want it to be, any kind of way of managing their situation, they call it misogyny. What do they expect? Like, women are like, okay, now the world is basically a quantum slutopia, sluts from the quantum level all the way to the cosmic level, and men are just like, well, okay, well, how do I navigate that? Oh, misogyny!
Yep.
And also at this point in time, I think just saying something like women poop is misogyny.
Absolutely.
Women pass gas, that's misogyny.
Yep. Okay,
Women
so
breathe.
let's listen to more of the video.
Gonna lead you on, and they're all gonna just drain you of your energy and then toss you aside and then keep you on the hook and come back to you later. Fuck off with that bullshit, all right? Like, that's not how this works. This is not how a majority of people work.
People meaning not men.
Yeah. I was
She
just
said
thinking,
people. She didn't mean men. She didn't.
I'm pretty sure
Obviously,
content.
men have a way that they work, and she understands that. I've watched 2 of her videos. Thanks, whoever sent this, Richard, for putting me through that, because it's completely useless content. That is just her saying "yikes" for like 40 minutes. That's her reaction.
My freaking God, really?
That's it. Yeah, it's her saying "yikes," ew. You know, this gives me the ick. That's her whole shtick.
Oh my God.
445,000 subscribers. Like, if we were grifters, I swear I would just paint my hair pink and just like say ew and yikes and paint my nails, and I would probably make millions. But I'm stuck here. Yeah, it would be perfect. It would be perfect if I only had zero integrity.
Yeah, I know.
Could do that.
If you were just willing to just take part in the long sluice of our society into destruction, you know, just get your bag while everything slides into the chasm. Yeah, that we'd do that. But I would actually like to have lights and electricity and sewer and all that other stuff. So I want to actually lay the groundwork to challenging the stuff that's going to destroy all of that, very literally. All right, let's
play some more.
I know a lot of women, and I don't know of a single woman who does this. I've never known a single woman who does this. However,
okay, wait
I have
one
seen
second. Yes, but your sample size is probably restricted to women like yourself who may not have the means to do this. But I'm guessing that if we reverse the sexes and say that be careful, women out there in the dating pool, because there are men who look good, but they'll drain you of everything and they won't commit. I'm pretty sure she wouldn't have a problem with that at all, right? Regardless if actually what they're talking about is like the top 5% that they're all going after. But again, your sample is you and the women who are in your circle. Those women may not have the option to have orbiters. Just saying. Okay, Brian.
No, that's okay. Let's do a little bit
You're
more.
just bearing with it.
The extent of her data is my friends are not like that. That's like her data. That's the counter argument. Here's my presentation. I have friends, many of whom are women, and they don't agree with this. Therefore, this thing doesn't exist. And now she's going to probably say, I also know men who do this. Therefore, this is all men.
Yeah.
But also, I don't like generalizations. All right, let's keep going.
A fuckload of men complain about women who do this, and it just really feels like a validation for men to hate women and to get mad at women and to complain about women. Like, if you really are sitting there being in love with this woman and constantly
hate is a strong word. I'm pretty sure men can recognize, because they have throughout all of human history, that women are fickle, that they often don't know their mind, they make stupid choices, they are strangely, deeply attracted to obvious sociopaths. And I think throughout all of human history, in fact, if you read a lot of men's writings, this has been a thread throughout most of human history. I guess men were just inventing all this every generation that had to deal with women, right? But they didn't hate women. They still buckled down and said, I am going to pay for the existence of this fickle creature, and I'm going to find joy, some kind of reverence in her joy of life. This is what they do. They're like, they turn these flaws. This is what I've seen. They've turned these massive flaws in women's character, and it seems to be women, because it's not women building bridges. It's women complaining about men getting money for building bridges and wanting the same freaking wage. These flaws, and again, also studies tend to show these flaws in women's character, and men turn them into cute little quirks. Like the manic pixie dream girl, which really is a woman who should be shot out of a cannon. But they're like, oh, she's so quirky. She gives my drab life my color. It's color. All of this quirky bullshit from women, it's color. It's the mysteries of human reproduction. It's so beautiful in its way. Instead of being like, yeah, no, this is just bullshit. Right? So hate is a strong word. Men love crocodiles. Men love scorpions. Men love snakes. They love the creatures that there probably is a man out there who has a beloved garden, like a beloved soil pot full of beloved worms. Men seem to be able to love everything or anything in this world. I think there is even a man who probably loves this woman, if you can believe it. Right? And she's here saying, oh, women have flaws. Then if we recognize that, men will hate us. No. In fact, probably men would find it easier to love you if you recognize those flaws. Like, it's just what I'm saying. Hate is a strong word here.
Yeah, she doesn't care. Like, I mean, her livelihood depends on hate being a word that applies to men's feelings towards women. So she needs it to stick, so she's going to make it stick. And you know what? 455,000 subscribers probably all agree.
Yeah,
so,
but you know what I'm saying, right?
I do know what you're saying. I'm just explaining that it doesn't matter. Like, we're living in a post-truth era in that we can't, like, facts have to move at the speed of women's feelings. That's where we are now. And that's just what it is. Like, and it doesn't matter if they have anything useful to say or do, or if they contribute anything. We just can't make them feel uncomfortable. And it doesn't matter if we have logic on our side in the moment, at least, because they're made uncomfortable by that. But what will happen is, over time, reality, which is what our logic is coming from, will slam down on them, and they will have to either come to terms with the fact that they've been wrong about reality and that their feelings couldn't actually change it, or they will just die alone and childless and sad. And a lot of them, I bet this girl's on SSRIs. I'm just guessing. I don't like to judge a book by its cover, but she doesn't look like she's an interesting person, because if you have to like look like a fucking, a bag of M&Ms exploded, then you're probably not interesting. Like, you probably can't hold a regular conversation with people, which is why the extent of her content is yikes. Yikes men. That's her whole, that's 455,000 subscribers. Or 445. Okay. I'm sorry, I don't mean to overestimate.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's pretty. But there's an ecosystem for this. That's the thing. There's women confirming, women confirming. And the funny thing is that, again, hate is a really strong word. I think men are frustrated. They're concerned. They're probably internalizing a hell of a lot more than what she gives them credit for, considering that the vast majority of men just off themselves when the contradictions pile too high, and when women become so difficult to deal with, it feels like you have no hope, right? This is the thing. Like, it's mild irritation is not hatred. Identifying things that you're dealing with in the dating sphere as a man is not hatred, right? Hatred is more along the lines of promoting a narrative in which one half of the sex deliberately and with malice goes out to oppress the other half. That's a lot more along the lines of hatred, because you see it in all kinds of propaganda throughout history directed at enemy groups. That's what you say when you want to not dehumanize, but render criminal the criminal perceptions of a group. This is the kind of stuff you do. That's true hatred. Just saying women are frustrating to date because of these kinds of habits, at its core, it still is about wanting to be around women, right? It's like what you said once, Brian, or maybe it was Mike, or Dr. Randomcam. Why would Muslim men hate women if their reward is 72 of them?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, and part of the reason why they have these narratives of this nonsense about hatred is because they tie hatred to men's sexual interest in women, which they call objectification, which is actually ableist and absurd. Objectification is people who truly objectify others, who see other people as objects, have a mental illness or a mental disability that is debilitating. And feminists are saying that men have this mental disability that's debilitating because they have sexual desire for women. And it's absurd. But that's where they root their men hate women, because they're saying that men's sexual desire for women is hatred of women. That's what objectification comes down to. So the fact that men are interested in women, the fact that men want to be around women, regardless of how infuriating women are, the fact that men share information, how to attract a woman, and how to, the proper care and feeding of your crocodile, is misogyny. And it's misogyny because this whole narrative about objectification. All right.
So this is the next time code in this video.
You want me to tell you another secret about women that I'm going to get into a lot of trouble telling you? And this is something that they will take to the grave, I swear. Don't even bother asking her, because it does not matter how good of a woman she is, she will not admit this. When a woman is single and she has options, there is only ever one man that she wants the most at one time. And she is not confused about this, no matter what she tells you. Sadly, and what's really messed up is that this is not always the man that she is currently with. Even if she's not dating anyone in particular, if she's just just in the talking stages with a few different guys. She will typically not be giving her attention to the man that she likes the most. And this is what confuses men, because it might feel like she's giving you a lot of attention and energy, but she seems to always have too much going on, or she's just not in the right place for a relationship, or she'll say that I'm just not ready for a relationship. She will only say that to the man that is not her number one. And the reason why she's not giving most of her attention to the guy that's number one is because she wants that number one guy to chase her. But if that man is not chasing her and she still likes him the most, she will cope with it by getting attention from guy number 2, 3, 4. Women will essentially use these men for their time and attention in order to feel good about herself until that number one guy gives her what she wants, or she finds a new number one guy.
I
mean, that makes perfect sense. Like, if you're accustomed to being surrounded by orbiters, then they're all bringing you something. And one thing I remember, it reminds me of this, it was a while ago. I saw this on Twitter, and there was a woman who was ranting about men, like she was angry with them, but she was angry with them because they were basically checking out, and she was basically like, I want men to like see me and be, and as a person, and whatever, like she wants to feel like men love her and they desire her and they want to keep her safe, even if she doesn't want them back, even if she has no interest in reciprocating that. And I think it just shows, like, maybe, just speculating, maybe this is the fundamental difference between the way men view women and the way women view men. And it's something that is not talked about, like Emily King says. I don't know how true this is, but like it doesn't matter. It could be a useful bit of information. But before I let the Skittle explosion answer, I want to know if Allison wants to say anything about Emily's take.
So I'm a little.
Or
distracted
were you not
feeling
listening?
like- No, I was listening. I listened to the whole thing. I promise you. It's just that I'm a little distracted because Void Cat destroyed my camera setup, and I don't want to go on the wobbly cam, so I'm trying to fix it all. But all right. Yes, in a seller's market like this, with artificial perception of an artificial inflation of buyers, because really the lack of relationship formation suggests that it isn't a true seller's market. There's just an artificial impression, like a larger amount of buyers, so sellers aren't actually selling when they could, so they just stay on the market, and then they age out of the market, and that's really what happens to reduce the supply. So okay, so it'd be like if you had a real estate market, but houses after about 20 years are no longer, they're a depreciating asset. Nobody's interested in them. So people go on to the market with their house and they think, okay, well, I got tons and tons of buyers, but for the most part, they're putting in bids on all kinds of houses, and they actually never sell their house. So it feels like a seller's market because they're getting all kinds of bids, and then they don't settle with anyone. And then their house ages out of the market and they've got no leverage. And that's what's actually reducing supply. So what I'm getting at is that the sales are not what's reducing supply. The depreciating asset is reducing supply. Okay, that's a little bit too complicated. But my ultimate point is that women are behaving consistent with sellers who think that they're in a buyer's market, when it's not a buyer's market. It is a seller's market. They are consistent with sellers who act like they're in a seller's market when it isn't exactly a seller's market. There's just the impression of a seller's market. So they do stuff like this. So, I mean, everybody's criticisms of this situation is valid, actually. Women's criticisms are valid. It's just their criticisms of the top 5%. Their criticisms of the loss of interest when they get older. Yep, their criticisms of the lack of so-called good men, and men's criticisms are also valid because the entire system is broken down. And I would say that men's criticisms are probably a little more objective and a little less, oh, my friend group, oh, the men that I'm interested in, and this is my entire population that I'm drawing my data from. I think that women are more prone to that, whereas men are more interested in the systemic kind of look at it. So I think that, but regardless, setting aside blaming men or women, although as I always say, I blame women and nobody can stop me. Setting aside that, the system is screwed. Like it's just a mess. And trying to lay blame without looking at every part of this, trying to find blame before you look at every part of the system to create an understanding of what went wrong is not a good way to go. And she's laying blame. I think that Dadvocate is just making an observation, and she's laying blame at a woman who's just making an observation. Like Dadvocate's criticisms of women in the dating market could exist.
This isn't Dadvocate.
Oh, sorry. Emily
King.
Emily King's, I think Dadvocate also criticizes stuff like that though. Emily King's criticism of women's behavior in the dating market can exist alongside women's own criticisms of what's going on in the dating market, right? So she's not necessarily laying blame except for women's part in it. She's not laying overall blame is what I'm saying, except for women's part in it. And right here, this Skittle person is saying that, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. So she's essentially doing what feminists have done with almost every issue that face men and women. She's denying women's half of the problem. And even though, like, I'm here, at least here, Emily hasn't said that, oh, it's all women, all of dating problems can be put at women's feet. This woman is already engaged with, well, don't blame women. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And she's pre-selecting the information we can look at to fix the problem, which ensures failure. She's once again preloading failure, and everybody's going to suffer from that. And she's huge.
Yep.
Like,
well, let's
what
hear
is
her
it about
response
women
to
who just
Emily
love-
King.
They love the preload failure. Okay,
They
let's go.
want to affirm their midness, and they get other women to do it for them so that they don't feel alone, and therefore they don't feel like, see, like if a woman can blame something abstract that is outside of their control for their life circumstances, then they don't have to actually do anything to improve. They can just do what women have done all through history, which is essentially, appeal to men to do something for them. And that is what this woman, the queer Kiwi, and all these other online feminists do, is they affirm women's insecurities and their situation, like their victimhood status. And then it because there are other women that are saying, oh yes, I have also been through this, or oh yes, I agree with you, oh yes, I've had this life experience. Then women can say, oh, well, if enough women are also experiencing this isn't something that I have done to myself with my life choices. This is something that the system, patriarchy, has done to me. And therefore, I can blame patriarchy and ask that the patriarchy solve my problem, while also blaming them for my problems.
Yeah.
So it's just that it's women who haven't figured out that they actually can and do control their fate. That like things are, but that would require them to get off their ass and do something. So anyway, let's hear her reply.
Really going to need you to stop projecting. Like, this is incredibly similar to the one before, and it's just like astounding to me, because either you are projecting massively, or you are learning all of your information about women from men who are just like actively trying to hate women. Like, you are learning your information about women and what women want and how women date through like the Fresh and Fit podcast.
Okay.
Or
So she's learning her information from the one group of people who has the most experience with dating women. She's learning her information about dating women from the one group of people who has the most experience in dating women.
Except that that's definitely not where Emily King gets her information. In fact, Emily King, I don't know about the Dadvocate, but I know that Emily King is not a fan of the quote unquote manosphere, red pill, fresh and fit Andrew Tate types at all. So but here's the thing that's interesting about this, what I think is funny, is that a lot of people in this part of the internet, they're all trying to, like, whoever it is, Paul Elam, Tom Golden, Tim Goldich, the Dadvocate, Roma, Emily King, us, whoever, right? Rollo, they're all pitching in Andrew Tate, fresh and fit. They all have something to say about this. They're all sort of like talking around gender dynamics, which I think is good because I think it's the most crucial conversation to have. All the other stuff doesn't matter. If you can't figure out what's going on with men and women, your government, whoever's in office, irrelevant, because like it's all going to go away. So if you don't address that, all the other shit that you're concerned with, this foreign war, that the economy over here, none of that matters if men and women are not getting together and making babies, period. Like that is a non-starter, okay? But everyone who's talking about these things, there's a lot of them that are trying to say, well, I don't associate with those people and I don't like them for that reason, and I think that those people are terrible, these are misogynists, etc. When at the end of the day, the people we're up against don't care. They all put us in the same boat, and we might as well stop trying to like separate ourselves from other people based on what we heard from these people about them. Like, these people are the ones that say Andrew Tate really hates women, even though like he literally he built his brand on his success with women, which I don't think you should hate them to be successful with them, or whoever it is. It could be Fresh and Fit. It could be even Abba and Preach. Like, it doesn't matter, right? These people will say, well, they all hate women, or this person hates women. That's why they name drop. This is the extent of our argument. Oh, these people have done this thing, and you are just like them. Even if you on your own channel has, for whatever reason, condemn them or whatever, it doesn't matter. And no one's going to look into it, and no one's going to care what you've said, because you are on the wrong side of the issue fundamentally, which is you're on the side of men in some capacity. Being on the side of men in any capacity puts you in the same boat as whoever you can imagine the worst actors are of that particular thing. So there is no point in getting into this like weird, like, subdividing, like, tribalism, and you might as well just ignore it and carry on. If somebody comes to me and says, oh, you're like, so-and-so, I'm going to be like, I don't give a shit. I don't even know what you mean. This is what I believe. Respond to that. Don't put me in a box. Respond to this. And that's what you have to do. So, I mean, I could be nuanced when dealing with feminists. I mean, I know that, there's a difference between J.K. Rowling and Julie Bindel and Judith Butler and Anita Sarkeesian and Bell Hooks. But at the end of the day, they all hate men. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they all have the same root belief system. And that's the only thing I have to go after, is that. That way, if they say, well, I'm not a third wave feminist, I'm a first wave. Well, I don't give a shit. You blame patriarchy for your problems, you're in the same camp. It doesn't matter, because you won't solve the problem. In fact, you're the reason for the problem that I'm trying to address, which is essentially the growing gap between men and women. So yeah, I mean, like, she's gonna name drop. That's again, this shows the extent of her intellectual rigor, which is yikes. And you're just like, insert right wing head or current cancerous human being that I want to associate with you. It doesn't matter. It could be you're just like JD Vance. You're just like Mike Pence. You're just like Nick Fuentes. You're just like, it doesn't matter, guys. Like, it's time for us to stop listening to their allegations of bigotry, because it's all meaningless. It's intended to control you. And if you accept it in any capacity, if you try to refute it in any capacity, you lose, because that means you're on the defensive for no reason. When you know what you believe is correct, it doesn't matter. So anyway,
well, it's an idea. It's a perspective that allows nothing outside of itself. Right.
Yeah.
This is what this perspective is, this feminist perspective and this occult feminist perspective. It allows nothing outside of itself. It's why Fiedelbogen, who used to be one of the OGs,
Yeah.
used to say that the first thing you need to do is simply say, I am non-feminist, because you force this viewpoint to recognize something outside of itself. And that's the very first step. And honestly, it's bigger than just condemning men at this point, because they also condemn, obviously, because that's what the topic of this video is, they condemn women who accept that men have a perspective worth listening to. So it is the idea that women have nothing to learn from men, nothing at all, and that men have nothing legitimate to bring the world. Like this half of the human race that evolved alongside women has nothing legitimate about it. They are illegitimate. And how else can you interpret the allegation that men have oppressed women throughout, since there were men, basically, since there was human society, which is basically all of human history, because we humans do society. This is what we do. We get together and we cooperate to make things. So throughout all the history of human cooperation, and incidentally, all of the feminist stuff about like Neolithic tribes in Europe prior to like the steppe nomads coming in and being all violent and stuff, that's all bullshit. They're now finding that those supposed peaceful Neolithic tribes were incredibly violent themselves, and probably could have resisted those warlike steppe nomads just through their own militaristic nature, but they couldn't resist the steppe nomads' cows and the fact that they would herd these gigantic masses of bioweapons and then just basically annihilate the agrarian, like Neolithic farmers in Europe. So it wasn't, there's no point in history. The further back you go, the more violent we are. So there was no peaceful matriarchy at any point in history. And if there was, it wasn't peaceful. Right? So like there's no ideal to look back for. So essentially what they're saying is that men have been a net negative for the human race since men evolved. What an astounding proposition, huh, folks? And now the very idea of taking an identity from being male should be done away with. Because that's really what they mean. That's the real dividing line. I don't know if you've noticed. It's between people, men and women, who believe that male is a legitimate identity, right? That they have 72 legitimate identities, but male isn't one of them.
Well, the jury's out on how many genders there are, but we know that man is not one of them. That's the only thing we do know.
We know that
So,
man is not one of them.
We just haven't. We don't have the data hasn't come back yet. I'm still waiting on Ketanji Brown Jackson's ruling on the number of genders, but we know that men is not one of them. But anyway,
fucking 15 years old. Like, I'm exhausted listening to this shit. Like, I get so confused because I do see TikToks and content and stuff like this sometimes,
confusing.
Like from women and from people.
It's confusing to listen to somebody who has an identity not your own. This is why these people cannot write worth the damn.
Let's go back a little bit again. I want to hear this.
Women and from people talking about like games and playing mind games and people.
So like women and people. I'm just saying, like the language is right there, right? There are no men. Like the men, and she's terrified of men. She apparently is terrified of men, but anyway.
Keeping people on the hook and whatever. Like, I don't think majority of people, but like whenever I see shit like this, I do have to sit here and I'm like, is this what straight people are doing? Is this how you're doing?
The breeders?
Wait.
Oh my God, you guys with your kids and families and stuff.
Okay, wait.
Go ahead. Yes.
Well then, why was she commenting on men dating women? She isn't even a woman who dates men, apparently, unless she's bi. But whatever.
She's queer,
We don't
Allison.
want her.
That
We
means,
don't want her.
you know what it means when you say you're queer these days? It means
Nothing.
don't put me in a box. I am whatever I need to be in the moment.
To win the
I
argument.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's what it means. Yeah. It's
Don't
an
put me in
identity
a
without an essence. It is not essential for me to tell you what I'm about. That's what it means.
So I can put you in a box. So I can be the negative space that constrains you to the smallest possible position.
She wants to put you in a box and then put that box in another box and mail that box to herself and then smash it with a hammer.
I get it, but what I'm getting at is she said with great self-confidence that she knew what was going on with men dating women, and now apparently there's a high probability she isn't even a woman who dates men. So what is her friend group? Presumably other ideologically motivated women of a lesbian persuasion.
Anyone who could tolerate those plushies and that haircut, which is probably a pretty narrow spectrum.
Well, I would imagine. I don't know how many old school lesbians are left, but I'm pretty sure they would look at that and say nope and just move on. It's like, okay, that is a red flag for late night beatings. Okay, but like this is so. But my overall point is she is opining about something which she doesn't even have secondhand knowledge of. I mean, at least Emily probably has experience dating men. I don't know if she. The thing is that if she's a reasonable woman, maybe she did have more men that she was interested in at a time, but she chose a man who was within her reach, and then he chose her, and that was it, right? I mean, if two people are dating casually and then they're dating more than one person at a time, you know what, it's just something that sort of has to be at this point, right? But if she's reasonable, and sounds like she is because she's married, then she found her guy, she locked him in, and then moved on. So that doesn't necessarily mean that she's projecting. In fact, the fact that she managed to lock in a guy would suggest she isn't. That she's actually remarking on the behavior of women that she's observed. Because this kind of behavior, it is horrible for men to be on the receiving side. But the end of the day, women are alone too. This kind of behavior leaves them alone too. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah. All right.
Like, I'm so exhausted just watching these people talk about mind games because, like, we're adults, right? Like, you're like, what?
Let's look at her for a moment. She just said, we're adults. Okay. All right.
In your fucking 30s? Grow up. Please. Oh my God. Like, this is the type of behavior.
Says the woman with rainbow hair. Grow up.
Okay, wait.
And plushies. Okay. And balloon animal earrings. I'm sorry. I'm gonna judge. It's ridiculous to be like, you need to grow up, and she's got rainbow eyeshadow. Like, I'm sorry. You must have like, I don't know what your job is. I guess it's to make videos for the government.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, no, probably, yeah. 445,000 subscribers.
They astroturf an ecosystem, and then this content just, like, the honest to God truth is, this is what I think is happening. The government is astroturfing an ecosystem, and then any new random content that goes along the same lines just blows up because it has things to be suggested beside. But going back to her maturity, you know that people can talk about the behavior of toddlers and how to deal with the behavior of toddlers without being toddlers, right? Like, this is some weird cargo cult thinking. She's like, this woman is talking about the bad behavior of women and that's mind games. It's childish. She's talking about childish behavior in women. She must be a child. It's like, no, it doesn't really work that way. That's not really, there's no transitive property happening here, lady. You're just forcing it. I guess that's part of the vagueness that you want to maintain to box everyone else. All right,
let's listen to some more of this. A little bit, like, there's a few more seconds.
We're
And
just
the
on
type
the
of shit
first
I
one, and
expect
we're
to
looking
hear
at
from
the
like
second house.
16-year-olds in the group chat. You know, it's like I'm talking to these guys and I'm trying to get attention from this other guy by like playing hard to get. Like that is what teenagers do. That is the energy of a high schooler. You're an adult.
Oh, so
They're
you
all-
do
Congratulations,
acknowledge.
you've just identified that this is the way women act today. Yes. And you can find like videos of grown-ass women on TikTok literally saying,
Acting in the manner.
I played all these games and for some reason I'm not getting a payoff. So yeah, maybe you should tell women to act like adults. That's a good idea. I applaud you, Queer Kiwi. You're onto something, although no, that means actually holding women accountable. Never mind.
And that's why they don't act like adults, because you have a problem with this woman calling out women's behavior. Why? Because you don't think women should be held to a standard of behavior. Because in order to be held to a standard of behavior, they have to be criticized, and that's misogyny. So because of that, you are constructing the very landscape that does not produce mature women. Because women are only going to grow up to the standard they're held to. That's it. Okay.
Yep. All right. Next time code. So 1730. It's right here.
I'm going to try to get rid of wobbly cam, so
All right.
I may have to.
Can we talk about the man that works hard every day, fixes everything around the house, and is involved with his children's lives, and yet he's belittled, told he doesn't do enough, told he doesn't earn enough money, and isn't even touched? That man keeps pushing forward. He keeps going to work every single day. He keeps fixing things around the house, and he continues to play with his children. That man just keeps on giving, and all he wants is a little bit of respect and appreciation.
So that man does the bare minimum and what is expected of him. Like he's literally doing what is required of him. Helping out around the house, he's looking after his kids, and he's going to work. I'm going to assume that the woman in that relationship is also doing those things. Does she get praise and gratitude from her husband? Or is it only expected to go one way? This man like needs to be thanked. He needs to be given gratitude. He needs to be given like
Yeah,
he needs to be given
the context is he isn't being given any gratitude. He isn't getting any recognition for what he does because it's the bare minimum. And yet I'm pretty sure that if a woman was doing the same amount and wasn't getting praised for it, you would say it's like unrecognized labor, probably unrecognized labor that should be subsidized by taxpayers. Right? Emotional labor.
Yeah. But of course, and feminists, they want to make up new holidays just to recognize women's hard work. Like women get Mother's Day, they get Father's Day, they get Single Mother's Day, I think is coming out. Like they're going to be dropping that. I think it's in beta right now. They're catching up to the number of trans visibility holidays that are showing up, which also women get to just, have. So yeah, but no, I mean, a man who busts his ass all day and comes home to a thankless wife, well, he's not allowed to anything. He's not entitled to anything because of he's doing the bare minimum, I guess. So yeah, this is like not a new concept. We've seen this for whatever reason. Women think, these women anyway, they think it's kryptonite to say thank you to men. I don't know why, but it's insane to me. But yeah, there's a lot of rage.
So much to be like, thank you so much for doing all of this. I don't know what I would do without you. You're incredible. You're amazing. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But does he do the same for her?
Presumably,
is he also
the assumption is
thanking her over and over again?
Well, I mean,
okay, men are still providing the majority of the income, and they are doing, according to the Pew research, they do 4 hours of work plus commute plus household chores plus childcare. They do 4 hours more than women. What they don't do is complain about it. Right? Like that. Does it really kill you to just thank the man in your life? Like, is it like, are they going to implode? Is this like throwing water on the Wicked Witch of the West? It's like gratitude is the one thing. It's the universal solvent of the female mind, apparently. You're right, Brian.
What?
It's like, it's impossible. It's impossible. Like,
don't
what would
know.
happen if this woman thanked her husband? She would obviously implode on the quantum level.
She would spontaneously combust like every drummer for a Spinal Tap. So,
When I was a kid, that terrified me.
spontaneous combustion?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that's kind of scary. I don't know if it would.
I was terrified that it would happen to me, that I would turn into a little green blob. My father didn't help because he's like, yeah, that happens all the time. Oh, God.
Yep. All right.
All right.
So that's basically, those are the main 3 for this video. So we'll go to the next one where she responds to, that was Emily King. Now she's going to be responding to the Dadvocate, which is a bit different. So let me just share this. And here we go.
Shall we?
Okay, I need to womansplain the friend zone. Because I just watched a video where a woman said that the friend zone doesn't exist. And I've seen tons of videos from women who criticize any men who use the term as just being misogynistic pigs who only want one thing out of women.
Interrupting you right there to say, yep. Yep. Friend zone does not exist. And when men use it, that is what they're implying. So I'm excited to hear how you're going to explain this in any other way, because that's literally the definition.
And these are...
All right, I'm pausing it there. So shout out to the Dadvocate and Emily King, by the way. And I think I did that at the beginning, but in case I didn't, in case it wasn't clear, I like these 2 content creators, Emily King and the Dadvocate, even if I'm sure that there are places where we differ on certain things, but it's okay. It's okay, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to get to the same place, I think, and we just have different paths that we're on, let's say. But anyway, so the friend zone. There are like animals in the animal kingdom that friend zone other animals and use them, make them think that, that they're exclusive or that they have a chance or a shot, and then they go to somebody else. Maybe they use them as an emotional tampon, as we like to call it. That is real. I've seen it happen. I've had it happen to me. We know that happens. So like, and it doesn't mean that, because of course the problem with the existence of the friend zone is not that it exists. The problem with it is that there's a couple of things. Like, men that are in the friend zone, they need the strength and courage to leave and like stop, essentially because that's what an orbiter is, right? It's a guy that's like hanging around a woman in the hopes that she'll notice him. And if it doesn't look like it's going to happen, he should move on. And I think it's hard for guys to do because they get attached, and maybe those women make them think that they have a chance. And so they stick around for that. But they have to know when to cut that off. But women have to know they have an effect on men and that they should use that responsibly, Like, I mean, I think that a lot of women do know that they have that, but I'm just saying, like, if you're aware of it and you're emotionally exploiting somebody because you want to, you need to feel comfortable once in a while, or you want to like get something out of it, maybe they'll use them for free meals or for gifts or something, and they'll call it friendship, which is what, Queer Kiwi will say, well, there's no such thing as a friend zone. Like, men should just want to be friends with women. And it's like, I think that then we got to have a conversation on whether or not that's possible, because I think there's a fair way to say that in a lot of cases, men and women, especially if they're young and sexually active, post-pubescent, they're probably not seeing the opposite sex as friendship material first. And that's just a complication that we have to wrestle with. So maybe it's not that easy. and that's okay. So like, I don't know. Like anyway, I'm sorry, Allison. Did you want to say anything?
I think that in the interest of time and also fixing the jiggly cam, I might zip my beak for a little bit if that's
all right.
okay.
Well, let me play the response here to this.
There are people who just don't understand what the term friend zone was supposed to mean. So again, a woman's blame. Yes, there are some men who honestly believe that if they insert enough friendship coins into a woman, they are eventually entitled a girlfriend. Those are called nice guys, but it is not the same as being friend zoned. Getting friend zoned is when a woman is not interested in a guy or attracted to a guy, but she leads him on to believe that she is, so that she can attempt to manipulate as much as she possibly can out of him. She will use these men for emotional labor to validate the shit out of her whenever she's dealing with an a-hole guy, but then disappear on him entirely when that a-hole guy starts talking to her again. She keeps saying she's not ready to date you, but then guilt trips the hell out of you if you even so much as start talking to another girl. Being friend zoned is when someone puts you into an emotional freezer bag and stuffs you into the way back of the freezer, thinking they can just take you out to thaw and have no other existence anytime they need you. A lot of men who have been friend zoned have straight up told the girl, please tell me if you don't like me so I can move on. And they get these BS answers like, no, I do like you, I'm just not ready right now. Trust me, the friend zone is very painfully real. And if you have no idea what it's like, go take a victory lap. Enjoy. Good job.
I have many thoughts. So for one, that's not what friendship is, right? So I don't know why it would be called the friend zone, because if your friendship is based purely off of I will talk to you when I need emotional labor and then neglect you entirely when I'm in a relationship and then come back once I break up, that's not what a friendship is. That's not what a friendship is. So I feel like friend zone is not the correct way to describe that.
Yes, it's not a friendship. Because a friend would say, no, I'm actually not interested in you in that way. I appreciate the time we hang out, but you got to move on with that, your romantic life, because I'm not an option. And genuinely mean it, not just try to reel him back in when I don't know, Pookie doesn't call you back, right? That's the point. These women aren't being friends. They're being exploiters.
Yeah, and it goes both ways, right? Like women get friend zoned too. And so essentially what we're discussing really is not anything to do with friendship. It's unrequited love, right?
Somebody just spammed the crap out of the special chat.
Yeah, I put him in timeout. It was just for attention, Allison.
Okay.
Don't give in. All right.
What did they address me or something?
No, but it doesn't matter. They spammed the chat with a bunch of blather because they wanted a reaction.
Okay,
and when you give them a reaction, they win. So let's not let them win, and let's just talk about the video. So,
well,
so
actually, no. I mean, let's be fair.
They weren't addressing you. They were just making random comments. Okay.
So they weren't actually offering an argument. I mean, if you are listening while
they weren't offering anything,
scrolling the shorts chat, we do respond to you guys if you offer anything substantive. So feel free to go into our chat and actually make an argument for once.
Yeah, they're only in timeout for like 5 minutes. So they'll be back talking about Diddy parties as soon as it's back up. If you want to respond to that. But anyway, so unrequited love is what we're talking about. And yes, the truth is that dating as a method of people pairing up is actually a relatively new phenomenon. When you look at most of human history, it wasn't like that, especially at the scale that it is now, where people can meet online through dating apps. Anybody in the world can reach out to somebody else in the world. So this is like a difficult thing to wrestle with. But what this ends up with are very unfortunate but facts of life, which is that sometimes a man, becomes interested in a woman that is not interested in him, and vice versa. A woman becomes interested in a man that's not interested in them. And one of the ways they try, because like anybody that you're interested in, like say romantically or sexually, you are first going to like want to get to know, right? Because you don't want to just be like, I think you're hot, let's make babies, right? You just like, okay, this woman's attractive. Who are they? What kind of person is this person, right? Can I be friends with them? Because like if you marry someone for their looks when you're both 80, you are still with that person unless you get divorced. So you might as well like make sure that they're a person you can put up with until you're 80. So that's like you got to make friends with people you will like end up in a relationship with. And these things can't really be separated. And I think that in most cases, that's what men are looking for, because they want a woman that is not just physically attractive, which I think gets overstated when it comes to men's desires in women. I think that's really overstated because it makes it sound like that's almost like the only thing what men want, and it's just not true. I think that the average man wants a woman that is going to be fun to be around. They're going to have things in common. They share similar, values. That she's going to be a woman of some kind of, integrity and honor, and that she's not like a hot mess, in that she will bring peace into his world. Like that's the kind of stuff that people want in their partners. Okay. And sometimes that's just not the way it goes, but you make friends in the meantime till you figure it out. And where the friend zone comes in is when you get into this area where it's really murky and you can't tell if she's into you or not. And, and you've tried to get to know her in that way or whatever, or she strings you along, which is totally something that happens. But I mean, it's happened the other way. I remember this girl that I knew, she was really unattractive, unfortunately. But more than that, she had an ugly personality. Like she was like a friend of a friend. Like I would never hang out with her, but she was a friend of mine. And she was really angry and butthurt and cut off this guy she knew who she had a crush on, but did not reciprocate. And I was like, well, who is this guy? And he was like in a fucking like rock band. And he was obviously like a pussy killer, like an absolute, Chad of a guy. And he was in a band and he played instruments and he made good money. And she was so mad that he didn't want her. And she looked, I mean, I don't want to be mean, but she was like something out of like Mordor. Like she was not a good looking woman, and she was not a nice person either. And so when he rejected her, she got like, a bee in her bonnet about all men, and essentially blamed that experience on all men. And I think that even when men have negative experiences with women, they don't usually go on like this whole like, well, all women are terrible now. I think that generally most men are willing to give they want more data to back up their thesis at least. But what I'm saying is ultimately like unrequited love happens. And sometimes, it's a bit of a mixed bag, right? Because she's saying men are not entitled to anything from a woman outside of friendship if they don't want it. And that men, being upset that they were put in the friend zone is wrong for them, and that they should remain her friend anyway because, it's wrong not to. It means you're a bad person or whatever. They try to shame men into staying friends with somebody that they don't want to be friends with if there's not going to be, a romantic outcome. And I think that that's stupid. I think that if men aren't interested, or if a man becomes interested in a woman and it turns out she's not interested in him, and she strings him along and uses him as an emotional tampon, then yeah, I think it's okay for him to be unhappy with her and not want to talk to her anymore. I don't think that makes him a bad person. I think that it's just him protecting his feelings, because she may go and just make disastrous relationship decisions in the future, and he'll have moved on, and that's probably for the best. But I think it goes the other way. If you're a person and somebody gets angry with you because you like weren't interested in a relationship with them, then that's you ultimately it's your call. So I don't see where the problem is. It's almost like people don't want discomfort to exist. Like they don't want there to be such a thing as having your feelings hurt because of one thing or the other. I mean, it's gonna happen. But it's okay to be upset about it.
Yeah. I mean, also what I found is that when men have trouble with dating, they try to systematize it to figure out what they can do to improve their odds.
Yeah.
They actually don't go to women aren't worth it or women are awful, like you were talking about, Brian. They usually go more to, okay, how do I improve my filter so I can find the good woman? How do I manage women's emotional needs in such a way that I can maintain a relationship with them? How do I become attractive to women? This is what I've seen over and over again. It's not blanket moral rejection of women. It's, okay, this is an obstacle now. How do I overcome it? And of course, like I was saying with the sluts and the pines rant, if women are like, now we're all sluts, so you got to deal with that. And then men deal with it, and then they talk to each other about dealing with it. Women turn around and say, how dare you deal with what we asked of you or demanded from you? And it's like, well, but they're just trying to deal with the reality that you've constructed. We got rid of all of the controls on dating and courtship. So now women can sleep with multiple guys at once. They can hold on to this dude who, that they enjoy in bed, but maybe don't want a relationship with. They can date these other guys, and it's a free for all. And men are trying to deal with that because you sort of requested it, and now they're misogynist for saying that's a problem they have to deal with. And it's like, women think that when men identify problems that women create, that means that men are saying women are evil and not worth it. And I'm watching men identify these problems women create so that they can overcome them to continue to be in relationships with women and form relationships with women. You see what I'm saying? And it's like women are like, oh my God, you hate us. And men are like, no, I'm just trying to figure out the gigantic thorn maze that you've constructed between me and having a relationship with you. I don't hate you. I'm still trying to get through the thorn maze. I'm just recognizing that you've constructed this for some reason, possibly related to the mysteries of human reproduction. This is the thing. Although I hope guys are cluing into that because I think in the past men would be like, oh, all of women's strange behaviors because they're the chaos, they're the mysteries at the heart of being human, creating new human life and all of this mystical crap. But now women are still behaving in this way and they're not giving birth. So it's actually just bullshit. It's actually,
yeah, and that's another thing too, is I was going to mention this before. I think women really, a lot of them really don't like men talking about the situation because they don't want men to figure them out. And there is some pleasure in remaining that chaotic mystery. Yeah, I think they get a lot of power out of that because if men are going, man, I just don't get women, like women just love that. And now men are just like, sipping their coffee like women.
Well, but
and women get bent out of shape because they don't want men to understand them. They don't want to be understood. It's like they just like being like this force of nature. That's why they like dance in the woods naked and worship the moon cycles. Like they love that. It is like another kind of control. It's basically like keeping them guessing,
yeah.
And men don't work that way.
I was just thinking, like, yes. They like that mystique, and maintaining that mystique. I think men also like that mystique. There's a lot of men who like that kind of, I have to be the most strongest and swiftest and fastest and smartest to win the heart of the mysterious forest maiden or whatever. But
the nymph in the lake, right?
The nymph in the lake.
They like that mythology. I mean, it's not like basically if men just don't care about solving the puzzle,
getting to that
then
point.
Yeah, which it is happening. I mean, women are getting mad about that. Because like, why aren't you figuring out this Rubik's Cube? And men are like, no, it's okay. I'm just going to play some video games and watch
Don't you
some
know I'm the
anime.
nymph in the lake? Why aren't you figuring out my
Don't you want the sword? You know.
But yeah, that's but I was just thinking as you were saying that, like, I struggle to try to get people to understand what the hell I'm talking about. I can't imagine reversing that and creating artificial complexity. It's like I'd maybe that's why women on the spectrum, like, there was somebody I said I'm probably on the spectrum, and they said, oh, I like you 14% more, and I'm like, 14%, where'd that come from? How did you come to that calculation of 14%? And I'm like, okay, no, it's just like, you know how if you want to get rid of a vampire, you throw a bunch of rice on the ground and they have to count every grain. I think that they were triggering my autism. But regardless, my point is that maybe the reason why women on the spectrum are less like this is because they struggle to be understood to begin with. You don't need to be more mysterious when I don't know, you think in tactile metaphors or something. You're already you're already struggling to be understood. You don't need to make it worse. All right.
All right, let's play a little bit more of this.
Maybe we should get to the next
And that
one.
is why, you know, when we talk about the friend zone, it's kind of saying, like, if I'm not interested in you romantically and just want to be your friend, then we have a friendship. And I think that friendship should be valued. Friendship deserves more value than it has. Sometimes you aren't romantically or sexually interested in someone, and you should value that relationship that you have without that. Platonic relationships are incredibly important. I would say more important than romantic and sexual relationships, to be honest. And
no, I don't think so. And I have lots of really close friends, but like, of course, if you don't think that families are important, then maybe you would think that friendships are more important than romantic relationships or serious relationships. But I'm gonna say no. But maybe this is because you want to live as a child forever, and some people don't. Okay, let me jump to the next time code here, because I know that we're running out of time, and I don't want to. Let me see. Was it? Here we go. It's like right here.
And let's get back into some Dadvocate.
We talk a lot about how guys don't pick up on hints, and that's absolutely true, but I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. A lot of them absolutely do. You'll just never know because it has the same result anyway. Because even if a guy does pick up on your subtle hint, even if he has not only picked up on it, but has analyzed it from 1,000 different angles, has seen 3,000 different doghouses from this hint, he's still not gonna do anything about it. Even if he gets it, he is going to pretend that he has no idea what you're hinting at. Why? Because he is not going to reward this behavior. Because he might get it this time, but if he lets you know that, he is screwing over his future self that is not getting the future hints because you're going to come to expect it. He can't let you think hints work because he relies on proper communication skills to keep the whole relationship afloat. If you can't put in the effort to turn your hint into respectable verbal communication, he's not going to put in 3 times that effort trying to unscramble your unnecessary puzzle. So you have 2 options. Either keep dropping hints and enter a psychological stalemate, or use your words and build a healthy relationship. Choice is yours.
This bothers me a lot because, yes, communication is obviously important, but like body language.
It's criticizing women.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, no, it just reminds me of that scene from The Notebook. What do you want? It's not that simple. Okay, but let's play the rest of this, because of course she has to like contradict this, right? And well, let's just listen to her.
Facial expressions and things like that is also a form of communication. I think a part of relationships is obviously getting to know each other really well so you can
but how do you do that without being friends first?
get hints from one another? Like, that's an important part of any relationship. You should be able to pick up on things that I'm hinting at. You should have a somewhat like general understanding of what I'm thinking and what I'm wanting. Like, you shouldn't always have to explicitly say what you want. If you are picking up on what I am hinting, then I have effectively communicated with you.
Okay. you
No,
wanna
you
say-
haven't. Nope. I'm just fascinated by women who are so fixated on their own internal processes, you know, and want to like that, want to be that mystery that's solved, right? Like, are you really that complex? Is there really that much going on, or is it just the mystery itself is the only thing? The ability to remain mysterious and unknowable. And once you actually know, there's not much there at all.
Yeah.
You know, and
You know,
only-
I think it's also kind of dangerous for men to act on women's hints these days.
oh yeah, no.
Thank you,
no,
Me Too
that's
movement.
right.
So like, why would they do that? Why would men put themselves at a risk by like, I wouldn't. If I was in the dating world, I wouldn't respond to any hints. I would only respond to direct statements, right? Like I would say, you got to tell me because I'm not putting myself in danger. And women created that climate. So thanks, ladies. You did this.
Yeah, no, there's really there's absolutely no reason for this communication. I hope that she enjoys doing this to her female sexual partners and friends. I suppose that they really appreciate that. Although, really, what seems to end up happening is that when you have a group of women, one woman is the one whose hints need to be picked up on, and everyone else is a handmaiden to her emotions. So yeah, they do this too, in with themselves. Only one can be the nymph of the lake. Everyone else has to
That's
be
right.
a toad on the shore,
Yep.
guessing what
Do
she's
you
up
not
to.
speak Fae? Then you can't. Then you can't know what my real intent. You can't understand me. I'm such a
can't know my
mysterious woman. Let me frolic. I will frolic in the woods now.
Yeah,
Okay.
but there's nothing really behind that. Like, there's just the desire. Like, it's like a 13-year-old's desire to be like, you can't understand me. No, you're pretty understandable. You're pretty understandable. You're fascinated with yourself, and you want. It's like that fuck shit stack, except he directed it to more at men. I am a cartoon character. I want to create a haze of incredulity so you'll never be able to be like me. It's like that. You just want to fart out a haze and then disappear in the mist. Fart, fart, fart. I am the nymph of the haze.
All right, third one, which she thinks is a gotcha, but
Like this.
Men say so much with their faces. Here are a few of them and what they mean.
And she's pulling facial expressions with the text on screen that says, "Don't do that. You're really doing that. Actually, not bad. That was wildly inappropriate, but I don't feel comfortable enough to say anything beyond this expression. I tried to warn you. I'm slowly spilling into the crippling loneliness of a lifetime of being misunderstood, abandoned, and forgotten, and I near an end of collapsing into myself like a dying star." Obviously, that last one's a bit of a joke, but like, this bothers me.
No, it's
so
not,
much
lady. Why does it bother you? You know what's bothering her? Because I swear to God, these women identify with being a mystery. It's why she's rainbow, right? She wants to be as ethereal.
she
and
thinks she's
unobtainable.
mythological or something, right?
Yeah, like ethereal and unobtainable, like an atmospheric phenomenon. I swear, what she has a problem with is that she's looking at it and she's like, is there a mystery that I am not? Men can't have their own mysteries. I can't be asked to understand men. Well, I mean, you don't have to be. I don't even know why you're talking about this. If you're a lesbian, go lesbian, like go enjoy your crazy ass freaking community. with its highest rate of divorce and probably domestic violence. You know, go enjoy that. You know what's really
Yeah.
funny is I remember, and this was years ago. When I was in student government, we went on this retreat, and I shared a room with a woman who was a lesbian, and you know, it was late night, and for whatever reason, people like to spill their guts to me, probably because I don't know why. You'd think that my autism would probably prevent them, but for whatever reason, they think I'm trustworthy. Ha. But anyway, so she's talking about how everyone in the lesbian community is a nutcase. And she's just talking about that. And when I'm listening to it, I'm not saying anything. I'm just like, okay, that's unfortunate. But it's like, even lesbians say this. If they're being honest. I mean, what was different about this particular lesbian was that she was very honest, more straightforward, and that this community is full of psychopaths, crazy making people, because they engage in this, and there's no buffer. There's no buffer. There's nobody to blame. When you're in the community, of course, they blame men outside of the community for a lot of the stuff that happens in it. But it's really difficult to blame them for everything. So they end up just feeding on each other. And getting into this kind of idea that if you don't guess the intentions of the Lady of the Lake, you're an immoral person. You know, and it's unfortunate. Womening with women can produce a lot of toxicity, let me tell you. All right.
Yep. Okay. Oh yeah, she's about to do her gotcha now. So
okay, it's time for a squish.
All right, here we go. I'm playing the video.
You cannot. These were posted one after another too, by the way. You cannot sit here and make a whole video about how women need to communicate exactly what they're feeling all of the time, and that body language and facial.
By the way, that's a straw man. She didn't say exactly what they're feeling all the time. She said just use your words. That's all. But anyway,
expressions and anything like that, that's not enough. You have to use your words to communicate exactly what you're thinking all the time, or men just aren't going to understand. But then going and immediately being like, but men don't have to. You have to read a man's
no,
face.
no,
That's okay.
no, you don't understand. These are situations where men aren't wanting to directly communicate something, and she's interpreting it. Like they are experiencing something, they are expressing an emotion, and they're not actually going to tell you, because if they told you, you would go full nuclear, I don't know, nymph on them.
Holodomor.
Oh yeah, Holodomor.
Oh yeah.
So they don't. And she's also inviting women to consider that men have their own process and their own language that's perfectly legitimate. Nobody has ever really there's a huge social idea that women are the ways we are supposed to communicate. Women are the ways that the way that women communicate is the way that should be communicated, that women are good communicators, that women's emotions or how they process emotions is the way to process emotions. So she's fighting back against that and saying, hey, there's actually a whole realm of communication that is inaccessible to you ladies. But these men are expressing this, but they're not going to necessarily hold that against you or remind you of it in 40 years when you piss them off. They're just expressing something and then they'll move on. This isn't a situation where they're not communicating. So they're failing to communicate something that's important to the relationship or their beliefs about you, right? There's a difference there. One is just an expression in the moment of a feeling. And then the other is something that you're going to hold on to and resent and implode a relationship over. Sort of a different amount of stakes between what the man is doing versus what the woman is doing. But also this idea that, like, again, that men communicate things in ways that maybe women should extend themselves to understand, that's novel. Like, that's not something that's often talked about. So I don't think, like Brian was saying, I don't think she's saying that nothing should ever be communicated non-verbally, but that it shouldn't always be on men, right?
Yeah.
Like, when
And
you
also,
can
I
communicate
also if a
something-
man makes if a man makes a facial expression, you can ask him, "What did you mean by that?" And he'll
Yes.
probably just
he'll
tell you.
probably
He
tell
won't.
you.
He won't be angry
Right.
that you're disenchanting his face, by like getting the truth. He'll be like, "Oh well,
You're
I
removing
think
the
that was."
mystery.
Yeah, I don't think men give a shit about that. Like,
Yeah, like if you ask him, he'll probably tell you. He won't say something like, "Well, if I have
well, I mean,
to
like when
tell
men
you."
make those expressions, it's kind of like involuntary, right? It's
Yeah.
just like a reaction. So
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
a
but
reflex.
if he probably appreciate you asking, or but he's not going to say something like, "Well, if I have to tell you, then it means that it's not worth telling you." Like, how do the women phrase it? If I have to tell you, then that is the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, if I have to
if I
tell
have
you,
to
then
tell
that
you,
means that's the problem. It's not about the
that's the
nail, right?
problem.
Yeah.
So it's like that is the issue. It's not the issue that men are communicating. Like, this is the strange kind of childish thinking. If she talks about men communicating non-verbally, she immediately runs to, "Oh, well, that's exactly the same as saying that women should never communicate non-verbally." Okay, let me try to unravel this in my head. Excuse my autism, everyone. Excuse it for a moment. All right. She wants women to play these games where men have to guess. And then when Dadvocate says that men sometimes communicate non-verbally, which women miss, she's basically saying that's equivalent. So any non-verbal communication, like recognition that maybe men should be, their non-verbal communication should also be recognized, is equivalent to Dadvocate calling out women for making these mysteries that men have to navigate, and when they fail to, thinking lesser of them. Do you see what I'm saying? They're not equivalent. There's a false equivalency here. Saying that nonverbal communication exists and is a form of communication is different than judging men for not being able to interpret your mysterious nonverbal communication. I think have I communicated?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, please tell me in the chat. Has something been conveyed, or do I need to do more nonverbal stuff?
No, please don't. So I think that's it for that timeline, but we're getting close to 3, and there is like this last video is not related to the other 2. So should we? Because I gotta go pick up Lindsay soon. So should we? Should we like maybe postpone that one for another day? Like,
What is
later this week
what
or
is it?
something?
What is it about?
It's called "Why Men What." You don't know why
No,
all
no,
men
I do.
suck ass. Why all men suck ass, and what I've learned from that. And it's made by somebody named
Yes.
Not So Hot.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, I remember it.
it's just a woman saying, "I hate men now, and it's their fault," and I've learned something from this. So yeah.
Well, what is the most egregious time code that she has?
I mean, it's in the title, I think, but let me see.
What encapsulates her thesis? Because I feel like I
it's
don't
in the
want to make it
beginning, I
entire.
think. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I mean,
just do one time code on
Most of my
her.
life I had
and then
like
we'll-
guy friends because I person with a very rough and tough humor. And the thing is, when you joke between 2 different genders, you can go as rough as possible. It's not gonna hurt, right? Like I can say the meanest shit to a guy and he's not gonna punch me in the face, hopefully most of the times. But if I say it to a girl, to my girlfriends, most of them they're like, "Girl, that was mean." I'm like, yeah. So that's why, like with my girlfriends, I'm much more gentle, and with the guy friends, we just roast each other. And generally, I do not like to separate.
that doesn't say anything about men and women, that men can take a joke where women can't. I mean, but that's not the bit I'm looking for. Hold on.
Okay. Don't worry about it. You got plenty of time. Everybody's waiting.
Man and woman into different baskets. Like I'm very like progressive about that. I just feel like especially like with this all political, technological, medical, like everything advancements that we have in 21st century, I thought we're kind of like equal to each other. Of course, we have our like biological differences, you know, our cycles and the way we think, you know, like men post-nut clarity and shit like that. But generally, we were like, you know, similar. And I thought men are capable of like basic understanding of feelings, emotions, and friendship. Boy, oh boy.
Okay, it
was I
sounds like
wrong.
she's moving into something
So,
interesting.
men don't have feelings. Okay.
Was I wrong?
So like
that is
so when you tell jokes about women to women, they say, "Girl, that hurt my feelings." And when you tell them to men, they kind of laugh it off, or at least they don't appear to be hurt. And then later you say men don't have feelings. So should men get offended at you when you joke about them? Or does that expose them as weak and therefore still worthy of scorn? Good question to think about.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. No. I've been served with this
What?
lesson that men are trash.
She thinks she's a comedian. By the way, this is a small channel. It's like 1,000 subs, so not really, you know,
But it's in the ecosystem.
punching down a little bit. Yes, it could blow up overnight. I mean, we got our pink lighting. She might know. Maybe there's certain colors the algorithm grabs, and I think like the pinks and purples they get picked up, whereas like, you know, red and black don't. So
Trash since I was 15 years old.
So men
What
have
did
been
she-
trashed since she was 15 years old, is what she's saying. Since she was 15, men have been trashed. Because a 15-year-old man, wait a minute, that's not a man, that's a boy.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I
yeah,
can't
the
call
kids
it-
are
I mean,
annoying. Like teenage kids can be quite annoying.
Yes, I did some substitute teaching in a high school, and the girls were worse though.
Yeah, no, I'm
they
not
were-
saying that.
They were
not
glued
saying
to they were glued to TikTok and social media. And I was like, do you guys have like rules against this? Like I did, you know, no, apparently not. Apparently not. Now the kids have phones in their pockets. There are no rules for that. Yes, I know. Antisocial contract says it's called bisexual lighting. Yes, I'm glad that you know about. I know about that. Yes.
coming back
I didn't
to
know
get
about
this.
that.
Yeah, bisexual lighting is like a certain. It's literally a dog whistle. I think. I don't know. It's everywhere though.
Maybe I should
Especially
try
in
some
video
purple
games and
lighting.
movies. So
Maybe I
well,
should try some.
that badger in the background's getting close. It's a little magenta.
Yeah, but it's not on my face. My face, I got. It's a
No.
little too cool. It's a little too cyan. My face, I think, or yellow. Sallow. I'm a little too sallow, but not sallow enough. You know.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Let's listen to more.
In my face every time, just like, no, but this guy's different. No, but he's actually being a good friend. Oh no. He actually cared for me. I used
What
to
the
judge this cynical women that hate men, you know, especially when they're like in their 40s and 50s.
Did she get
that hate men,
dumped
like,
or
if they're-
something?
It doesn't matter. I just
Yeah, she basically goes and talks about some bad relationships. I don't know if there's like a specific, because like, look, you know, people get their heart broken. It happens. Some of them, they suck it up. They try to think, okay, I'll, you know, what can I learn from this? Like that's kind of a big thing. You know, what do you learn from your mistakes? What do you learn from your bad experiences? What do you learn from like terrible things? Even if it's shit that happened to you that you didn't contribute to in any way, there's still always something to learn from that. It is in its own way a blessing. But some people put that on the internet. I don't think I would never do that. I try not to do that. I think the last thing was like when I had cancer, but I think everybody had to learn that I had cancer so they could understand why I wasn't around for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Well,
if I don't know. It's
I think that's reasonable if you have like an ongoing audience. You know, like it's not drama. It's just if you know getting people want to know if you're okay, right?
yeah, I guess.
But,
Well, yeah, sure, yeah, sure. But like in her case, I think it's just like, you know, all men are trash, and here's why. And here's two stories of, I think it's like two stories she tells about like some, you know, bad experiences she had. And yet I have to wonder, like, what if you contributed to those problems, and you don't think that there's anything that you could learn from that you could use to make you a better person. And if let's say the first, and I mean, I would say that most people don't get it right the first time anyway. So if your first relationship was a disaster, maybe you got involved for the wrong reasons, whatever.
So how long are these stories? You do one, maybe.
Well, this video is like a half an hour, so.
Oh my God, these stories take a half an hour to tell?
Well, yeah, it's like the whole video is like her 2 examples of like what, those are her 2 examples of why men suck, right? That's the video, I think. Unless Richard Bier knows something that I don't know. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch this whole thing because I value my own sanity.
Yeah,
and,
well, I mean, at this point, like, let me just take a look. Let me take a look really quick. I know that you got to go soon here.
This doesn't have any humps in it, so I can't but I do have 3 main top time codes where she talks about stuff. So, all right, let me just jump ahead to like 8 minutes in almost. It's like, and again, she's a comedian, so she's like using this to like, I think that what she's really doing is doing like a Janine Garofalo bit, who is if you don't know, Janine Garofalo is a very, very popular, famous feminist comedian that did some movies and stuff. And she also hates men. She dated Ben Stiller for a while, and I don't know how to feel about that, but but they did break up. I think Ben Stiller got out of there, which says something about Janine Garofalo. But anyway.
Because I'm a wise woman, Am I? Do you want to end up
drunk?
like me? So there's 3 levels of betrayal. So
well, she's sitting on the floor eating chocolates and drinking tea. So she's in between. This is like the female equivalent of being in between jobs for unemployed people. She's in between boyfriends, I think. So that's But women in between boyfriends, can they collect unemployment? Yes, it's called simps and orbiters. That's basically what it is. That's what a simp is. He's unemployment for women who don't have boyfriends. Anyway.
Let's start with the closest one, lover. I'm in a relationship, a long, long time, still together. Will not disclose who he is. I respect his privacy. He's a private person. I will not tell you what he's done. But let's just say he
pisses me off.
So what I would do, I would try to control him. Because I want the best for him, right? I want him to succeed in life. I know what he needs to do or what needs to be done for him to be good. Because he has so much potential.
Okay.
Potential.
I'm trying to
I don't think I need to say anything.
So there you go. She tries to control her boyfriends because she thinks she knows what's best for them.
Brian?
Yes?
I don't think I need to say anything. She is both her own example and her own counter argument. So I just let her roll.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. There's nothing to say. It's like
I'll use my body language. No, my expressions.
Okay, here we go.
Now we're going to respond in expressions. Like that woman was.
With my help, he can become a huge thing, right? After wasting a lot of my nerves, I realized
you can barely change yourself.
Can you? Have you ever tried to change yourself? Have you ever tried to become a morning person? Have you ever tried to become a productive person? Have you ever tried to not talk shit about other people? Imagine that. Imagine how hard it is to change for yourself.
You know what you need to try?
Girls?
Okay, because she's just told on herself. She's not a morning person. She's not a productive person. She's probably not a particularly good person. And yet she thinks she's in a position to change someone else for the better. I think what she needs to change about herself is being a bit more humble. Okay.
Right you are. Let's see. Yep. Okay.
For show.
So, okay, we'll play some more of this. But she's basically giving up the goat here, so.
Never change a man. You can never change him. Do not be Barbara the Builder. And even if you manage Barbara the Builder, and even if you manage to build a guy, most of the times he will leave you once he becomes something else. In a lot of cases, if a guy's an alcoholic or a bum, and you just like shape him into a guy, like his best self, he will leave you because he doesn't want to be reminded what he was with you before. He wants to have a clean slate and meet a girl that knows him to be this perfect guy.
Once the man has got your sword, he's got the sword from the lake, he leaves you. Once you've tested
literally
him.
the opposite is what happens. Well, first of all, a woman, you should be asking yourself, if you feel the need to change a man completely, what did you like about him in the first place? Like, if you feel the need to change him completely, what did you ever like about him? And if you change him enough to the point where nothing that he was is, like if you basically like separated him from his entire identity and you left him as a shell of his former self because everything that he did you criticized into oblivion, you may not be interested in him anymore because the man that you liked, you killed. So like what like why are we even having this conversation? Like it's okay to have standards, but like, and I get that we're all works in progress, but it depends on like if you want to fundamentally change who this person is, then who the hell did you like begin to like to begin with? And what are you making this person into? Like and once you do, first of all, what is left of that person after you've done all that? And also, do you like what's left? Because the person that you liked was there, like whatever he had, right? Whatever, if it was like, man, you just don't have that like spark in you anymore that I fell in love with. What happened to that? You were smiling and like high energy and so much fun, and now you're not. Now that I've taken everything out of you, like that I nitpicked, or my girlfriends told me to nitpick or whatever, and now there's nothing left but a shell, and I don't like the shell. What happened to the thing I was making?
Yeah.
You overworked the clay, lady.
Now it's just a slurry.
Yeah.
Now it's just slip. All you clay nerds will understand what that meant. I just wanted to add, okay, so somebody said, well, maybe she's the problem. No, she says that she's the problem. She acknowledges it. But it's this we're in this ironic post man-eater world where you acknowledge as a woman all of the awful shit that you are. And that's cool. That just makes you edgy.
It's not even that. It's like I think there are women going that oh, I'm so glad you said that because that's exactly me. I mean, I don't want to look in the comments, but yeah. I mean, they're just admitting it because when you feel like you are so righteous about your opinions on things, no matter how abhorrent they are, then you just put them out there. Because like, why would anyone shame you for having the right opinions?
I'm just saying that there's this kind of dirty girl chic going on. Like she knows that she's a hot mess and she's proud of it almost. And it's a little bit weird, to be honest. I'm trying to think if there's
weird.
Yeah. Okay. Does she go any further with his perfect?
I mean,
Harry Cavill. Isn't that Harry Cavill?
Yeah, Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill. Sorry, I'm not really good with names or celebrities. I was like a toss up that was that guy. Oh, the definition of a perfect guy. Pretty sure you disagree with him politically though, so not really. I guess he's a work in progress.
He is. Yeah, she'll probably make him into something unrecognizable and then like break up with him.
Sorry, my pain is coming back. That's why I have to put my eyeglasses back on. For all of you who were like, "Oh, what's with the safety glasses?" I can either do a stream that's lit or I can do a stream in the dark, and you can just see me just like a little shade creature coming to you from the dark. Very mysterious, though. Maybe I should do that. It'd be very feminine. Okay, let's.
No, that's. I mean, it's. We should be wrapping it up because I gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Are we done?
So that's basically, yeah, I mean, there's not much. I mean, she's kind of pathetic and she thinks it's funny, but it's just cope. It's cope. It's all cope. All these women are just coping because men are like starting to like, really wake up and act on that. And some women are understanding and they're getting on board and supporting men, and these women are just coping about it. So
Yeah. All right. So I think we have a super chow, and I got a thank you to Richard Beer.
I missed
Completely unrelated to the
Oh,
content of
sorry.
this video. He supported us for the tune of $1,000. So thank you, Richard Beer.
All right, all right, all right.
And yeah, there's also, she's sort of grating to watch, that last one. I mean, Skittles is also grating to watch, but I think Skittles is just trying to cope with, I see the pain in her eyes. She just kind of cope with being a lesbian. It's like that.
Being
there was a
mid,
being a
less
being
than mid.
She probably isn't that bad looking if you scrape the makeup off.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much filter she puts on, but
I don't know.
But my point is that do you remember that Bill Burr? It's not even my point. The thing I wanted to bring up, but that Bill Burr sketch about the lesbians.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. Vaguely about like the lesbian domestic violence stats, right?
No.
The-
I think it was Bill Burr, but he's like, you ever see a lesbian? Correct me if I'm wrong. It might not be Bill Burr. You ever go to like a lesbian bar and you don't look at the young lesbians who are just new and excited, but look at the ones who've been dating other women for like 5 years and how they're just like grizzled and they're just at the bar and they're knocking back shots and they're just like, I've seen some stuff, man.
yeah.
Having flashbacks after having dated women for 5 years. And then you compare that to gay men who are so happy it's almost illegal. They're just floating high,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty funny. So she's probably doing some serious cope because she has to date women, and I feel sorry for her.
Yeah. She doesn't have to make it a political statement. Just like,
No, she doesn't.
humble yourself and maybe you'll date a man.
Yeah, but the thing is
'Cause,
that
mean,
I don't know. I think if lesbians ever, like the political lesbian community, if you banned the word men from their lexicon, they would probably implode in 30 minutes. They have to have a scapegoat in order to keep themselves alive, because then they'd have to address all of the aggression and violence that they engage in. And I don't mean just physical. I mean verbal and passive aggressive and all of the dysfunction that comes out of two people doing things like, you should just know. Well, you should just know. Well, you should just know. If you don't know what you did wrong, then that is the problem. Well, that's the very problem, that you don't know what you did wrong, because you should just know. Well, you should just know. Well, and it's like, just how do you have a relationship like that with two people saying, you should just know? Of course, what ends up happening is one woman establishes herself as emotionally dominant, and it's the other woman who has to end up just knowing. And this is not about like being this is not about being compassionate. It's not about being cooperative. It's not about being kind or having greater emotional EQ. It's about using emotions as a weapon. Nobody should have to guess, right? Right? They shouldn't have to guess what you're feeling. And furthermore, you shouldn't be holding it against them if they don't guess right. That makes you a tyrant. It makes you a tyrant with a new tool to enact tyranny. Tyranny doesn't make you a good person. Ugh. All right, so I'm good. I know you got to go.
Okay.
feedthebadger.com/justthetip. If you have anything you want to say to us, send us a message that way and send us a tip. Very much appreciated. feedthebadger.com/support to support. I think we did. Did you go through the super chow?
Yeah, I got one from Great Indoors, who gave us $10 and says, honey for the Badgers. Thank you, Great Indoors.
Thank you, Great Indoors. I'll do one last check. See if there's anybody gone through. Nope. So
All right.
thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you all for your support. And we'll see you. I'll hand it off to Brian.
All right. Well, if you guys,
I forgot I'm
Yes?
not doing the end. I forgot it. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
If
Yeah,
that's
I'll
okay.
shut
If
up.
you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the Maintaining Frame. And we'll talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's right activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.